Today is an absolutely momentous day for us at GGD because we are finally launching the Periphery V Matt Halpern signature drum library. Those of you that have been with us since the start will know that we kicked off the whole GGD thing doing a Matt Halpern signature drum library. We then updated that with a few basic samples that we recorded during the making of Periphery III. A few years later, we released the updated version of the Matt Halpern signature library, the Periphery IV version, which used the actual drum tracks taken from the recording of that session. And now we have the Periphery V drum library. And frankly, not only do I think it's the best in the series, I think it's the best drum library we've ever released. So why do I say that? I think the first thing has to be the sound quality, which is always our number one priority at GGD. And I feel like something special happened during the recording of this record. There was just, the right combination of amazing drummer, amazing kit, amazing studio, lots of time and lots of comfort levels in the studio to really get things absolutely dialed in. And just something magic seemed to happen where all those things together created just this amazing drum sound. People have responded really well to the sound of the drums on that record. And for me, secondly, it has to be the realism. We recorded this pack really quite recently with all of our up-to-date protocols for sampling and implementation and coding and scripting. And I feel like the result, with all of the velocity levels that we captured and all of the round robins, has really, kicked this library up into that realism point where you could swear it was real drums when it's programmed well. And I hope to be able to convince you of that. But before we go any further, let me show you exactly what this kit can do. I'm going to give you a little taste of the fully processed sound of this kit, playing the first few bars of Periphery V itself. So that's the song Wildfire, which starts with a pretty iconic fill. So check it out. Hopefully you enjoy it as much as I do. Brilliant. So for me, that really evokes the sound of the record, as it should. These are literally the drum sounds that we used on the record, and we've approximated the mix as best as we possibly can. But before we go into some more process examples, I want to show you just how good this kit sounds raw, because as I say, I feel like some kind of magic happened on this session. Beautiful sounding room and a really great sounding set of drums. So I'm going to load up a fresh instance here. This is just the default starting point when you load up the instrument. It's got a rough balance of faders, but there's no processing going on whatsoever. And this is how the kit itself sounds in its purest form. And I'm going to play a little bit of an example that goes through a few different kind of drumming styles. So also hopefully show you the range of versatility within the kit. So to me, that is exactly what I look for in a raw drum sound, which is loads of character. The drums have lovely controlled sustain, but still with character and a bit of overtone to them. Loads of mid-punch. Obviously, some of that can be sculpted out to make it more like a mixed modern metal drum kit. But even just there in its raw form, you can hear the potential that exists within those tones. We've got quite a dark array of cymbals, which was our preference for this record. There are a few cymbals that you can change out, just as there are a couple of drums that you can change out. Some of the options are a bit brighter, so it's probably still something in there for you. And the thing that really makes this drum sound awesome for me is the sound of that room. We recorded at the amazing Real World Studios Wood Room, which for me has just got such an incredible ambience. It's enveloping, it's warm, a lovely decay to it. It's not out of control. It's just got everything in the right quantities as far as I'm concerned for being an excellent sounding drum room. Okay, so let's get stuck into what you actually get in this kit, the drums, the cymbals. Take a look at the gorgeous GUI that we've had made for this. I think it's probably our best looking to date. We've got a Pearl reference drum kit. We've got Matt's signature Pearl snare drum, his brass snare drum. We've got an array of Meinl cymbals. Let's dig in a bit deeper. So the kick drum is the Pearl reference with a coated head. But we also sampled a Pearl Masters birch kick with a clear head and tried to make it as clicky sounding as possible. The idea being, if you wanted to use this for something with like a really slappy kick drum sound, you'd have that option. I thought this sample could come in handy for the mixing of the record. In the end, I didn't use it. I just stuck with the sound of the reference kick, but it's another really good option. So really clicky, as I say. Snare-wise, it's all the same snare drum, but we've got 3 tuning options, and you can tell which is which by the colour of the hoop. We actually used a cast bronze hoop on the snare drum for this record, just something a little bit different, and that was the hoop used in all 3 tunings. Here it's just a visual aid so that you can tell which tuning the drum's in by looking at it. So got the mid-tuning snare is the standard one on default. But we've also got a high-tuned snare, which if you've heard the record, you'd have heard on Everything Is Fine and Thanks Nobuo, for example. And then we have a low-tuned snare, which is an absolute rock monster, and you would have heard that on Zagreus and maybe Dying Star. So yeah, 3 tuning ranges. That gives you a lot of variation right there. Can already kind of make it appropriate for lots of different styles. We've got 18 and 16 floor toms. The rack tom, when it loads up, is a 12-inch. But you do have the option of going to a 13-inch for a slightly lower tone. On the record, we did, chop and change a little bit between them. And then we get into cymbals. So we've got a pair of 15-inch hi-hats. I love those hi-hats. We sampled them in loads of detail in terms of the velocities and stuff. So you can get stuff sounding really, really realistic by playing with the velocities and the different articulations on the hats. We've got Matt's signature crash ride. So this sounds really great as a crash. It was the main crash that we used on the record. But it's also got this lovely, soft, warm, organic sounding kind of ride character to it as well that's sampled within this. However, if you want a slightly smaller diameter crash, because that's a 21-inch, we also, on the record and in the sample library, used a 19-inch polyphonic crash, sometimes in that position. You can access that here. And you might notice, by the way, that sounds pretty similar to the really kind of famously popular and well-used Byzant's 19-inch medium-thin crash. We've sampled it a few times in different libraries. This is very much in the same vein. It's just a gorgeous sounding cymbal. And what we decided to do, which is obviously a little bit hyper-real, but we made it so that even when you have the polyphonic crash up, you can still access the ride tip and bell sounds from the double down crash ride, even though it's not loaded, just so it doesn't mess up all of your programming, and you can kind of have this best of both worlds approach. So you can get the crash, but you still have those articulations hiding there. So while recording, we felt like the crash ride, while it was great for softer ride sections, didn't quite do what we wanted when it came to like really aggressive blast beats and stuff. Some of the drumming you heard on Everything Is Fine, for example. So we came up with the solution of pulling out this cut down gigantic bell ride that I had in my storage unit. It's only 15-inch diameter, and it's just this one-off cymbal that ended up becoming quite a feature of the record. And that's what we've called the ride in this library. So when you see the ride close mic, when you see the ride articulations, it's referring to this. So you've got that for all of your, your extreme metal use, as well as cool accent stuff that you could do within fills and whatnot. We've got Matt's double down stack. This has been a permanent fixture again in our libraries. We've got the 20-inch China, Byzant's China. For me, this is the best China in the world. Just so serpentine and aggressive. We've got, as a default, the 2 Foundry Reserve crashes up. Now, these are really expensive, traditional, handmade cymbals, top of the range Meinl cymbals. They're really good for more dynamic playing or for like a kind of shorter, trashier voice. If I were to play those at the kind of softer velocities, you'd hear they're really kind of breathy and just amazing for some of the softer aspects of the record. We use them on some of the heavier songs as well, but on some other songs we actually switch them out for, again, slightly more modern, although still kind of on the dark traditional end of things, selection of crashes. So we've got the 18-inch polyphonic crash, so that matches with the 19 that's on the right currently. And then we have the 18-inch extra thin hand-hammered crash, which is a really thin, over-hammered crash that sounds quite trashy. Finally, we've got the 10-inch Byzance traditional splash. And although I said finally, we also have stick clicks. And that rounds out all of the instruments that you get within this pack. So it's a tightly focused selection, but I think you can do so much with it. You know, especially with that combination of the crash ride, the bell ride, the different tom sizes, the different snare tunings, the different kick drums. You could really kind of get this to sound quite different, especially then, of course, if you mix it in different ways. Okay, so having had a look at the instruments, let's now go through each of the mixer tabs. So like our other major libraries, we have an individual tab per instrument group. So we have one for kick, snare, toms, and cymbals. And under each of them, you're going to find the close mics that we recorded. They're not for every cymbal because, you know, we didn't put a close mic on every cymbal. But you've got the hat, splash ride, crash ride, and stack here, along with overheads, mono room, room 1, and room 2, which I'll explain in a second. So every channel has those overheads through to room 2 with different numbers of close mics depending on the instrument. So fairly self-explanatory. To be able to demonstrate the sound of these shared channels, the overheads, mono, and the 2 rooms, I've sent them all to different outputs and I've set them all to Unity so we can listen back to how those channels actually sounded when we recorded the live drums. So first off, let's listen to the overheads. Really great stereo image. You can hear a little bit of that kind of room ambience on there as well, but it's not overbearing. One of the beautiful things about the room that we recorded in is it's all about the height. So the width of the room around the kit is not massive. You're getting a nice bit of slap back off the sides, just enough to give it a liveliness and for it to not get kind of washed out with really long sideways reflections. But at the same time, there's loads of headroom for the drums to kind of go upwards and backwards towards the room mics where you get the big splashy effect on the room mics up there that I'll show you in a second. So it's nice because the overheads have some life and feel intimate and then the room might sound massive. And it's all in one room, you know, you're not doing one of these things where you have a kit in one room and then a corridor mic'd up or something like that. So just love that room. Here's the mono mic. As I say, this is kind of in front of the kick drum, a few feet back, taking in, it's going to get everything, but really the idea is it's getting a bit of boom off the front of the kick drum and quite a lot of shell sound. People that know my mix style know that I tend not to use a whole load of mono channels, but it's still a nice thing to have for isolated moments on a record or, you know, just adding a little bit of something down the center of the mix. So now let's check out rooms 1 and 2. Now these are mics placed in the same spot up on the mezzanine behind the kit. So same distance, but they're very different styles of microphones. We've got room 1 being a stereo ribbon mic, an AEA R88. So being a ribbon, it's got quite a smooth, big sound. And being a kind of all-in-one stereo mic, it's got a beautiful representation of the stereo field, but it's not as wide. Versus room 2, which are these wide-spaced C414 large diaphragm condensers, which give a really wide spread and have a kind of splashier, brighter sound. But because they're the same distance from the kit, you can kind of use it as like a tonal adjustment. I really like that. I was very happy with that approach to room miking on this album, so I hope you guys appreciate it as well. So I'm going to start out by showing you room 1, and then I'm going to switch to room 2. I don't think you're going to need me to point it out. It's a really stark difference. And it's really shocking to me just how much that R88, the ribbon microphone, just does this thing where it makes the cymbals sound so quiet, and all you can hear is like the really beefy sound of the drum shells, especially that snare drum. So yeah, that's where the money's at as far as I'm concerned with this recording. Like with our other major full fat libraries, we have got a function here called turbo. Turbo is the ability to blend in some specific processing on each channel independently, going from 0% to 100%, which is fully processed, all under the hood within Kontakt, so it's happening in real time. And you know, the idea is you can get really close to a final mixed sound, maybe just add a little bit of parallel compression and your master chain, and you're going to be in a really good place with your drum tones. So I think the easiest way to demonstrate what the turbo function is doing is to use some presets to be able to show you some kind of quick changes. And I've actually created snapshots or presets that represent the kit setup we used on each song from Periphery 5. So you can see down this list here all the song names. And each says full turbo or turbo off. So that's what I'm going to utilize. Let's pick a song at random. Let's choose Zagreus. I'm going to click turbo off. You can see the snare went to the black room, which means it's the low tuned, and we've got the 13-inch rack tom up. But otherwise, I think it's the same cymbal setup that we just had. Let's take a listen to the demo we were just listening to, and then I'm going to switch to the turbo on version, and you'll hear the difference. And full turbo. So what would it take to make that into a final drum mix? I think something that would be really useful is a little bit of parallel compression. So I really like to use this distressor setting thing I've talked about in a few videos now. So Slate distressor settings that I basically stole from Eric Valentine. It sounds like this. And then I like to run it through both an SSL style compression set with fast attack, fast release, and a very aggressive compression sound from the Focusrite Red style compressor here, but with the mix turned very low. That added on top gets us to this. And I could actually show you that in action a little bit if I were to go over to here and play this this excerpt from another song on the record. This is a more chill section, but it's using that lower tune snare. The turbo's cranked up and it's sounding really powerful.
Silent in the moonlight as she goes, the air is stale as he lingers on his own.
So as you can hear with those settings, with the parallel compression on and the master compression as well, that snare is just absolutely slamming. Yeah, I don't know what to say apart from that's just the best sounding drum kit we've got on offer at GTD. I think it's an amazing sounding raw kit. with great processing, and then the realism really takes it over the edge. I don't know what you guys think, but to me, like the realism on the hi-hats in that last clip, the way we recreated, or able to recreate Matt's exact kind of accenting and performance on the records and have it come out sounding like that, to me is just like such a joy. It's generally such a joy to use this library. And, you know, just I'm really hoping that for you guys, you feel the same way. I think there's so many cool tones within here that could be appropriate, not just to metal, but to other styles of music. And even within the realms of metal, I don't even think you're necessarily pigeonholed into the Periphery sound, especially if you take the raw tones and kind of process them in your own way. They're just like, it's just an amazing sounding, clean drum kit with amazing room ambience to it. So yeah, that's the GGD P5 Matt Halpern signature pack. Yeah, just so happy that it's going to be out there, that you guys are going to be able to use it. And I'd love to see people using this with an E-kit because of the amount of realism that we've packed into it. I think it's going to be something which is really engaging for E-kit players and could make, you know, open up whole new options of really being able to use E-kits on final recordings and having them sound completely realistic. So yeah, that's it from me for now. There's a few more features I haven't gone into here. You can see about them on our website at getgooddrums.com, and we'll continue to pump out, you know, more information about this library and others wherever you're watching this, whether it's on social media or on YouTube. I do hope that you guys would consider following us so that you can stay up to date, not just with, you know, the product infos, but with the sales that we run and new products as we release them. It's an honor to keep doing this. It's a bit of a landmark moment for us to do, you know, the next iteration of the Matt Halpern signature pack, and something that we feel really good about, and we're very grateful for all the support that we've had from you guys over the years. If you've had the other Matt Halpern signature packs, I'd love to know how you think this one compares. Pretty sure you're going to agree with me that it's just next level in every way. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching me ramble about this drum library. As you can tell, I really love it, and I hope that you do too.